Dr. Elena Cruz stood in front of the towering spacecraft, its sleek metallic surface glinting under the floodlights. The murmurs of colleagues and well-wishers surrounded her, but her focus was fixed on the mission ahead. As the first geologist to explore the dark side of the moon, Elena was thrilled at the prospect of uncovering secrets buried in the eternal shadow. "Be careful up there," a technician warned as he handed her the final checklist. "People say there are things on that side." Elena rolled her eyes and smiled politely. "Wives' tales. There's nothing up there but rock and dust. Trust me, I'm a scientist." Despite her confidence, the warnings persisted, from whispered anecdotes about strange lights to ancient myths about the Shadow Keepers. Everyone seemed eager to share a cautionary tale. Elena dismissed them all, attributing the stories to humanity's love for the mysterious and unexplainable. The launch was flawless, the roar of engines fading as their craft pierced the atmosphere and sailed into the silence of space. Alongside Elena were Commander Yates, a seasoned astronaut, Dr. Malik, an astrophysicist, and Lieutenant Pierce, the mission engineer. Their banter filled the cramped quarters, lightening the mood as they approached the moon. But as they neared the dark side, Elena felt an inexplicable unease. During one of her observation shifts, she noticed faint flickers outside the viewport, lights that danced in impossible patterns before vanishing into the void. She chalked it up to fatigue or her mind playing tricks. The feeling worsened after a systems diagnostic revealed strange fluctuations in their onboard instruments. Pierce attributed it to the unique electromagnetic field near the dark side. "Nothing to worry about," he said. Elena nodded, but the tightness in her chest remained. The landing was precise, their craft settling into the fine, powdery regolith. The dark side of the moon was as eerie as it was beautiful. The absence of sunlight painted the landscape in endless shades of gray, with jagged craters and ancient rock formations casting long, foreboding shadows. For days, the team worked tirelessly, collecting samples and conducting experiments. Elena marveled at the purity of the moon's untouched geology, finding minerals that had never been seen on Earth. Everything seemed routine until the final night. Elena woke with a start, her heart racing. In the pitch black of her quarters, she swore she heard something, a low, rhythmic vibration, almost like breathing. She held her breath, straining to hear it again. Nothing, just the hum of the ship's life support systems. She told herself it was stress, but the unease clung to her like the moon dust that stuck to their suits. As they powered on the engines for their return to Earth, the ground beneath them trembled violently. "Seismic activity?" Malik shouted, his voice laced with disbelief. "No way," Elena said, gripping her seat. "The moon doesn't have tectonic plates." The tremor grew into a deafening roar. Before anyone could react, the ground split open, revealing a gaping chasm beneath the craft. From the darkness below, an enormous, grotesque hand emerged, its fingers like gnarled roots, covered in a viscous black substance that shimmered unnaturally. The hand gripped the spacecraft, metal groaning under the impossible pressure. With a sickening screech, it tore the ship in half. Elena's harness snapped, sending her tumbling into the wreckage. Her oxygen alarm blared as she struggled to orient herself in the chaos. She caught one last glimpse of her crewmates, their faces frozen in terror, before she was pulled into the chasm. As she plunged into the cold abyss, her mind raced with regret. The stories, the warnings, they weren't myths. She should have listened, her final thought, as the shadows consumed her, was the bitter realization that her last moments would indeed be spent on this cold, dark moon. Earth's monitoring stations lost contact with the team shortly after the seismic event. Search missions found no trace of the spacecraft or its crew. In the years that followed, whispers of strange signals from the dark side of the moon began to surface. Some said they heard faint cries for help. Others spoke of something older, waiting in the shadows, and humanity, for all its curiosity, dared not go back.